Recording has started.
So, again, if you miss our chit chat, we had a long one 2 episodes ago. We're still recording on the same day.
Yeah.
So, no chit chat here.
No chit chat, although, hello, welcome. This is another episode of Gentle Power.
Probably episode 33-ish.
In the 30s.
Well, in the 30s.
Yeah.
Like us.
Yeah.
Cool. So, we don't have much time. We're about to catch a flight to Korea and we'll have to go fast.
Yeah.
I want to explore now, and I haven't thought about exactly how to go about this, but I want to explore where this modality of therapy called IFS, internal family systems, where that overlaps with negotiations and where we coach people on negotiations. So I have a few thoughts, but I'm curious where you will take it to. For context, we both have individual therapists and they practice IFS and we love it.
It's been life-changing.
Yeah, it's been life-changing.
I think we could have an entire
right
hours-long episode just talking about what we've learned in IFS through therapy, but
that's not very relevant to negotiations. So on this episode, we want to see where the overlap could be.
I think I'll want to jump in and want to keep adding stuff, but we're very time boxed right now. So maybe this will just be the initial, the teaser, the opening primer for this entire topic and this whole world.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, there's a lot to talk about on IFS, but I don't know how much overlap there is with negotiations. But the one place I can see the overlap. So what IFS is basically the founder of IFS, just for brief context, he was a family therapist, and so he would look at families in the same room and look at the dynamics. And what he noticed is that, and what IFS is that we have almost like a family system in our heads as well. So we have characters inside of us, various characters. It could be our parents and family members, but it could also be your younger self frozen in place at a point where you had a traumatic experience or something very, very memorable and things like that. So that's the premise of IFS. Essentially, they call it parts work. And so essentially we have different parts inside of us and treating them as their own person and sort of talking to them in a way where you're understanding what their function is and what their role is and how they're trying to help you. The premise is that your parts are all trying to help you, even if it's showing up in a way that is hurting you. Could be like you smoke a lot, like you could be a smoke addict. That part is probably helping you by protecting you from some negative feelings, but it's showing up in a certain way, and if you treat it with kindness, it can let you it can reveal to you how it's trying to help you, and you can probably work with it and sort of address the issue. Anything to add on IFS?
So much.
Yeah, I know.
But let's dive into how it...
Yeah, so I have a few thoughts. So a couple points that stand out to me. One is that in IFS, even the parts that are very difficult, like I said, let's say you were addicted to smoking, this is relevant to me because I have family members who are addicted to smoking, as many Europeans. So treating a part of you that you're usually annoyed at or not very happy about, treating that with curiosity and kindness leads to better outcomes than if you continue relating to it in a way that is
you're trying to resist it or tamp it down.
And the way this applies to negotiations is you will often encounter the other party in a negotiation sometimes will be very hostile, very unfriendly, especially in this market where it's an employer's market. They know they have the upper hand. They might apply a lot of pressure on you to give away your leverage, and they might even ask illegal questions. And so in that context, a lot of our clients get very frustrated, they get very combative, and they're tempted to be very combative and an eye for an eye type of thing. And what we can learn from IFS and apply to negotiations is if you treat even someone that is being difficult with you, if you treat that person with at minimum curiosity, but ideally with kindness and giving them the benefit of the doubt, you will probably get much better outcomes rather than if you are hostile to them as well.
That makes me think too, I wonder if in some cases, let's say there is a very aggressive recruiter or aggressive employer, and they perhaps feel an automatic reaction or some sort of emotion to this, and that may even be triggering some younger part or version of themselves that they see. And so then they're going to want to respond in the way that they've always responded, and perhaps it's a suboptimal way of responding. But I really like the curiosity aspect, because that gives a lot of room to understand where they're coming from versus just thinking that they're just trying to not give me more money, or they're trying to screw me over, right? Yeah. So I really like this curiosity angle. It reframes things. Well, perhaps, so if they are being aggressive, who knows what is happening on their end, whether it's the recruiter is having a really bad day, or maybe there are things within the company that I should be taking note of that could be potential red flags if they're all of a sudden being very aggressive or not wanting to share very basic info like what is my equity worth, right? Yeah. So this is, I think, a very good approach to what you do encounter throughout your negotiation. Points at which that make you feel uncomfortable. Think about it with curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's that point, and then another point is that a lot of people have a hard time advocating for themselves, and they don't realize, and they haven't really internalized. Like I tell them things like, "We're a little off, but it's okay."
It's okay.
Like the ankles.
Mm-hmm. Did we drift over time? Yeah.
So a lot of people haven't internalized that you need to negotiate. It's actually a foundational business skill to have. And not only that, but you might be hurting your chances of getting the job if you're not negotiating, because it's such a core skill to have that when people don't negotiate, when I've been on the hiring end, it's a bit of a flag, like question mark, why didn't you negotiate? Like either you're very desperate, you don't know that you're supposed to, which is such common knowledge, you don't know how to do it, you're conflict avoidant. A lot of these are red flags for a candidate and someone you want to bring into your team. And so not red flags in the way that, you know, they're a bad person, but rather that can they handle complex business decisions? And so people, you know, might not want to negotiate just because they are maybe conflict avoidant and all that. But one thing that I think we can borrow from IFS is the perspective that kind of separating yourself from your parts, in that you could advocate for the younger self in you, and that's so much easier to do than if you think of yourself as one system and you're like, who am I to negotiate in this market, blah blah. But if you see the younger self in you and the younger part in you, and you're like, that little girl, for me at least, you know, she worked so hard to get here, she deserves to be paid, you know, better, or whatever's on the table, she deserves to not leave money on the table. I'm gonna advocate for her, even though it's uncomfortable for me to ask for more money. I'm gonna do it for her. This is especially true for women. Women not only are more uncomfortable advocating for themselves, but they're also penalized for advocating for themselves. And so if you can, in your head, sort of advocate for the younger you, that could help as an extra motivation to just do it and negotiate. The other piece is that you could actually think of a different person. So if you have kids, that's so much easier. Like you can say, I'm doing this for my kids. Like every $1,000 I'm leaving on the table, which will down the line turn into tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands because of compounding and all that, that's money that could go to my kids. And so that hopefully serves as a motivation. But even if you don't have kids, if you have future kids, or you know, if you plan to have kids in the future, or for me it's like my mom, like I want to give her a good life, and I want to take her on fun trips, and I want to buy her good gifts. And so for me, that's actually, I use my mom in my head as a motivation to negotiate. Whenever I'm like, oh, I'm dreading this conversation, it's going to be a lot of work, or it's going to be a little uncomfortable. For me, it's like, hey, if I get just even a couple thousand more, this is what I was telling myself for my first job out of college. if I get even a couple thousand more, that could be like, my mom will be so happy with that extra money. I could take her on a nice trip. I could get her a nice gift and things like that. And so I borrowed, or I noticed that this concept is that I've been using for negotiations. It's similar to the idea of sort of looking at your parts within you or other people as parts, as a like that separation.
Yeah, I think that's a great ending note. When you think about negotiations, you're not just advocating for yourself, but who else are you advocating for? That's important, because
both internally and externally, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Okay, we can wrap this up.
It there.
Let us know if this is an interesting topic, and we can maybe explore other parallels.
Yeah, there's so much to say about this.
I know you have a lot of.
There was a lot. Yeah, there are lots of very, very deep learnings here that I think our audience would find interesting.
I know IFS has been life-changing for you specifically, which I'm so proud of for growing in that way. And I'm curious if there are more parallels between negotiations and IFS.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Okay. See everybody.
Bye, everybody.